Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am creating a birthday card using the Me and My Dinosaur stamp set by Mama Elephant as well as the 3-window cover. Now first of all I'm going to color these amazing big dinosaurs. I adore these. It's like the Yeti, it's like the robot. These are amazing images. They are so big they can fill a whole card by itself, but today I am coloring these two. So I'm going to use some more muted tones today for these dinosaurs, and I don't know if you know about these colors, but I hope that I can convince you about them because I adore this color combination. Also today I am doing a bit more heavily shadowing than I would normally do, and I am hoping to explain you how I start on this, which is maybe not as easy to just say it out loud instead of showing it, so that's why I'm going to try it with this image. So first of all, I have decided that my light source is going to be on the upper right. So as you can see, I am tracing with my darkest colors all the left sides of this image. So if I have some overlapping, also the side that is on the left will get some shadows. If you have a big image like this, it's not always easy to have enough shadows on there to have it powerful enough because it's really huge, and sometimes you think that we need 7 markers to do this image, but that's not true. So another tip that I want to give you while you are doing a bigger image like this, or just even a tiny image, but that's difficult, my opinion. If you're doing a bigger image like this, try to elongate the lines that are already given, as I'm doing here, as I did on the face, as I did at the tail. As you can see, I am using my markers to sort of give the impression that the line goes further than just the stamped out image. That's something that I also do. Now, this is a huge image, and as you can see, I'm now on my final color that I will use to do the coloring of this image. There isn't enough shadows. That's always the case with big images, but it's better to be careful with your first layer and just add where you think that you can add some shadows. Don't go overboard with it. And once you have your first layer down, you definitely see that there is more room for heavier coloring, that you can do a bigger line of that darkest color, as I'm doing here. I already covered up my second color by just adding my darkest again. So that means that I will go broader and broader with my darkest colors to get like the shadows more heavily on there and a bit more impressive. But I just keep repeating myself. I am doing the darkest, then the color next to it, then the other one. It depends on how many colors you have, of course, but I'm working from darkest to lightest, and I will always do this way before I start something else. So now I just focused on the face and the neck and the feet that are in front. Now we will do the back. And just the same, I know that I have more space to add my darkest colors, so I'm just making it broader and just adding more. And the advantage of these sizes of images is that you can really explore the heavier ink blending, the elongating of the lines and all that. It's really hard on a tiny image, but on this one you have so much room, you can really keep going. Also, if you're doing this, make sure that you have a paper that can handle a lot of layers, because this often means that you're going to go back and forth until you're happy with the amount of dark colors that you have on there. So for the greens, I'm going to stop here, and I have this cute yellow combination just for the spots, and that's my first dino. Now my second one is going to be in a bit more of a blue, a dark muted blue combination that I have already used often, so I think that you already know this combination, but I just adore it. Now, because I only have 3 markers that have that amazing blue combo, I am also using this W8 for the darkest areas, just to have something that can help me. Here you can see me elongating those lines, again also on the face, and I'm making sure that I'm first tracing all the left sides. Now, after you have traced all the easy shadows that are on the left side, the opposite side of your light source, you can start thinking about, okay, so that leg is overlapping the belly. So then the belly on the right will be also in the shadow of that leg. And such things you can figure out after you added your first shadows. And that's what I did here as well. Also, if you elongate your lines, you actually have more places that you can add shadows. And that's something that's really handy, especially with the big image, to give it some depth, to add enough shadows. And I really like that. So I thought of adding BG70 as well. You will see it later on, but it's such a light color that it didn't do anything for this image. So in the end, this BG72 will be the lightest color of this dinosaur. As you can see here, it's barely noticeable, and I just didn't like it. I could do a bit of tip to tip, but with the size of this image, I'm just too lazy to do the whole image tip to tip. So I just avoided that. I'm going to my second layer now, and I am making sure that I am adding more of that darkest color, bigger areas, and then I will just again work my way towards my lightest color by tracing every line again and again. And that's how I do it, and there is such a difference. You can also color dinosaur as you would always do. I often do that as well, but I tried some shadow studies ahead of time on these dinosaurs, and there is such a difference that you can create by just trying first a bit of shadowing technique. Just scribble a bit in a book that you have. I use that for a bullet journal. On the back of the bullet journal, I just stamp out the images that I think there is some possibility to do a shadow study on this one. And then I just try something while I'm watching TV, just relaxing and a bit of scribbling. And that's how I built up my layers. So here you can see the tip to tip. I tried it. From time to time it works, from time to time I'm just really bad at it. So I just gave up with the BG70. I went for the BG72. I like this. Now with my lightest color changing, I needed some more shadows. You will see this dinosaur has more than 2 layers. But as long as it helps, I am perfectly fine with that. Also trying to clean up some of these areas because I am going to later on use the same yellow as on the green dinosaur. So I just had to clean those areas because this blue is way darker than the yellow, so chances are high that you could still see it when I started coloring the yellow stuff. So I would love to know from you if you like this kind of shadowing, because I want to do it more in the future, but I also want you to know that this is something that anyone can do. I'm not doing anything difficult, but I must admit I cannot do this amount of shadowing without prepping it ahead of time. So I have my bullet journal there when I'm coloring. I have it on like a stand for like the books for cooking, the baking books. I have a little stand there for, but I'm using it in my craft room because that's the most important room. And I just put my bullet journal on there and I watch at it while I'm coloring to see what I thought in the beginning that could work. And sometimes it changes still while coloring because some things will not work out, but sometimes it works out fine and I love it. But I would never have tried this amount of shadowing without knowing that it might be a possibility. So just wanted to show that. I hope that the explanation sort of is giving you some advice, that it was clear enough, because it's a bit strange. I think it's easier to show you, but then again, I don't know if you're like up for a shadowing technique video, but let me know. It's just with a regular color pencil, not even a color, just a gray pencil to draw. That's how I start on it. But I cannot combine showing that with making a card. I think that would be too long. So, well, onto my background. So this is a 3-window cover. It is already quite an old cover, but I adore it. You can do so much. There's also in this die set love and hugs in like big letters, and I love that as well. I'm going to use the hugs today. So this paper is Strathmore Bristol Smooth. You can ink blend on a lot of papers, but well, some papers are helping you. Definitely if you're using the original distress inks, those are less forgiving as the oxide inks. I say it often, I like ink blending on Nina, I like ink blending on TransoType perfect coloring paper, but those papers are not forgiving. If you are making a mistake or you have like a lot of ink on a certain area, you will see it like even in the end result. But this Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper really gives you a lot of time to get the ink blending going, to maybe correct mistakes that you think you have, just because it sort of keeps the ink on the surface longer. While when you're ink blending on Nina or TransoType, and I'm just mentioning these papers because I use them often, if you're ink blending on those, the ink is soaked up immediately and there is no wiggle room. But I knew that I was going to do some splatters, some water droplets, as well as some ink splatters, and those other papers that I'm not using to take for the ink blending, like the TransoType and Nina, those cannot handle water. And I don't know if you already noticed, I sometimes do it, but it actually ruins the paper because it's really not water friendly. While the Strathmore is so smooth like this one, it can handle water, no problem. It cannot handle too much water, let that be clear, but it can handle this amount of water. It can handle splatters, and those splatters will be round. Those will not go all crazy because the paper is reacting strange on it. So that's why I ink blended this panel onto Strathmore Bristol Smooth, because it really helps with the splatters as well, and I just prefer having splatters on these kind of papers. So onto my sentiments, I have this hugs, I die cut it twice, but I'm just going to ink blend a bit on the top ones. A soft gradient is the plan, and then I will also do some splatters on there. I added this on some purple tape to keep it sort of in place, while some stayed in place and others just went crooked and went off like the S. I really struggled with that one, but the most important thing, it got ink blended. Here I lost my patience. I thought I wanted a bit heavier on there, so I just smooshed the ink on there, and then I worked on it to get it smooth, and that's just something that you can do as well. So this is the lightest color, and then I will also add a bit of the darker color. Just a really soft gradient. So everything will be matching. And actually this card will say birthday hugs, so I will use the word birthday from another set, and I will heat emboss it onto the panel when it is dry. Onto the splattering, and once I'm happy with that, I will set it aside to dry as well, and then later on I will add these onto the other one that I cut out of the same white. So everything is dry now. and I just was figuring out how I was going to place the sentiment. Now in this My Pet Kitties there is the birthday word, so I'm just going to mask the rest of the sentiment off, and then I will stamp out birthday because I want to have birthday hugs. I'm going to do some heat embossing, so I prepped my panel already with my anti-static powder tool, and then I will use the Versamark embossing ink. Now when I add my embossing powder, which is today the white one from Ranger, it's a super fine detail, you will see that actually the masking of the exclamation point wasn't that well. But that's not an issue. While you're cleaning off the excess embossing powder that might be on your panel, you can also remove some excess that you have by not masking it well. And that's just what I did. I took my pencil or just my fingers, if it's possible, and just remove it like nothing was ever there. And then once I'm happy everything is removed that shouldn't be there, I'm going to heat set this word until it's smooth and melted, and then all the elements are ready for this card. Don't forget to buff off the excess of the anti-static powder tool, and then let's start assemble everything. So first up I am going to layer my ink blended letters on top of the other ones. Just a little bit of dimension, not much, but just a little bit. And then I will assemble everything on top of my card. Now I'm going to play a bit with dimension. I'm going to have my frame flat on my card. Then the 3 windows that you have, I will use some Scotch 3M foam tape. Like this, and they are just all popped up, making sure to add everything where it should be, not twisting them, so that the blending is just completely running through the whole panel. And then I can start on my letters. Here I realized that the H was turned around because I have my blend going on, and all letters have the same blend, so that needed to fit. And then once these are on there, I'm going to add dinosaurs. I will use a bit of that Scotch 3M foam tape to help me also behind those areas where the frame is lower than the windows. And then with a bit of liquid glue, I'm just adding them on top. Once that's added, I am going to add a few more details, a bit more glossy accents, because I love glossy accents. But first I am going to add these bubbles from Little Things from Lucy's cards. And I don't know if you have any iridescent bubbles. I don't necessarily mean the ones from Little Things from Lucy's cards, but just any iridescent embellishments. Those are amazing. Those almost work all the time, because the iridescent part of it really gives you so much colors, but it will always fit with your images, with the colors you used. I personally think that iridescent embellishments are the way to go. You need them. If you don't have them, you need them. And a lot of brands have them. I think Studio Katja has them, Little Things from Lucy's cards, but I think any brand actually has them. Any brand that is making embellishments, and if they don't have it, shame on them. They need it as well. So I really like these. I also have iridescent stars, I think from Studio Katja. Those are so amazing. So I added those, and then my card is completely finished. I hope that you enjoyed this video, the card, and of course that you had something to think about while I was coloring and that it helped you. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below in the comments. I will get back to you as soon as possible. I hope that you all have an amazing day. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!